as the Ascension Choir sing Alleluia, Alleluia. The Archbishop of Canterbury.
Good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Taz. And I told you I would see you all today. Let's talk about the coronation. In opening, we opened, just like the coronation did today, with the Ascension Choir. Many of you may be familiar with them from the beautiful nuptials of Prince Harry and Princess Meghan Markle, or the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. You know, all of the UK royals have multiple titles. But as always, let's get into a little bit of history, shall we? So, did you know that there was a title change for the head monarch of the UK monarchy? In the 18th century, it went from King of England to King of the United Kingdom. This was due to the successive acts of union, which joined England, Scotland, and Ireland into one political unit. In 1876, the biggest change to the title came with the Royal Titles Acts, which made Queen Victoria Empress of India and gave authority over areas that were not formally subject to British rule. Now, with this came 3 Dubars, which were held in British Raj to formally proclaim the imperial title. In 1877, Queen Victoria's was held. Edward VII and George V were in conjunction with their coronations. Now, before we go any further, if you're not new here, we're going to break this down as we go along. So the Acts of Union, there was one May 1st, 1707, that created the United Kingdom of Great Britain. It was passed via the English and Scottish parliaments. On January 1st, 1801, it abolished the Irish Parliament. Ireland was given 100 MPs at Westminster. The Irish peerage was represented in the House of Lords by 28 of their number, and they would serve for life. A Dubar, is a court or audience chamber and also any formal assembly of notables called together by a government authority. In British India, it was specifically attached to formal imperial assemblies called together to mark state occasions. The British Raj lasted 1858 to 1947. also known as this was the rule of the British Crown on the Indian subcontinent. It was also called Crown Rule in India or Direct Rule in India. Now, let's get into the coronation, the history of the coronation, and the Commonwealth. In 1931, the Statute of Westminster, formalized some former colonies into self-governing dominions within the British Commonwealth. George VI and Elizabeth II were crowned monarchs over the UK and territories overseas. The Coronation Oath Act of 1688 is why they have the Coronation Oath, which is a legal requirement. It has been amended several times, accounting for former colonies no longer being a part of the Commonwealth. Charles III's oath was amended slightly to cover his duties to other kingdoms via an agreement with their governments. Now, if you watched the coronation or you saw clips online, because they were all over social media, you may have noticed that one, there's graffiti on the back of the coronation chair, but under the coronation chair there was a stone. That is the stone of sconce. It's placed under the coronation chair. It was removed from Scotland via Edward I as a symbol of Scotland's subjugation. Scottish nationalists for years demanded its return. In 1996, John Major agreed with the condition that it would return to Westminster for future coronations. So that's why you still see it. And once again, before we go forward, let's deep dive into some other things. Now, the Statute of Westminster 1931 passed December 11th, 1931. It granted dominions full legal autonomy except in areas where they chose to take advantage of autonomy. Basically, it increased the sovereignty of self-governing dominions of the British Empire for the UK. As far as modern terms, it gives Canada its own voice. Now, the stone of scone, or the stone of destiny, is used to be used for Scottish coronations for hundreds of years. In 1296, Edward I of England took the stone during the War of Independence. In 1950, this is funny. University of Glasgow students took the stone from Westminster Abbey. Now, these students were Alan Stewart, Kay Matheson, Ian Hamilton, and Gavin Vernon. They were never charged. In 1951, it was returned, but it was, kind of messed up. It does currently reside in Edinburgh Castle. Now, Sir John Major, born March 29th, 1943, is a former British politician. From 1979 to 2001, he was a member of Parliament. 1987 to 1989, he was the Chief Secretary to the Treasury from 1989 to 1989, July to October 1989. He was the Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, 1989 to 1990, Chancellor, 1990 to 1997, leader of the Conservative Party. For 1 month in 1997, he was leader of the opposition. 1990 to 1997, he was prime minister. In June of 1995, he resigned due to questions regarding economic credibility. In 2001, he just decided to leave politics behind and began focusing on his writing, business, charity, and sporting work. Now, as a nod, so to speak, to the Welsh nationalist, the Kyrie, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, translation, Lord have mercy, is performed in Welsh at the coronation. Now, King Chucky's guest list did take a break from tradition. Now, imperial tradition says that the only rulers or royalty that would receive invites were to British overseas territories, rulers of British overseas territories. Now, Chuck's guest list included monarchs from Europe and the Middle East. Now, Diana, Princess of Wales, because remember, let's not forget her sister, Lady Spencer, like their royalty, they're aristocratic in their own right. Her brother, Charles Spencer, 58, did not attend. Didn't really expect him to. But baby, guess who got an invitation? When I tell you, Queen Concubine is a petty bitch, a petty bitch. And we're going to get more into her and this coronation in a minute. She invited her ex-husband. Now remember, her ex-husband is also the ex-boo that she stole away from Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, Queen Colonizer II's only daughter, King Chuck's only sister, Andrew Parker Boyle. Ain't no way. 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 I will never understand the affinity of white folks inviting their exes. Yeah. But for a little bit more background before we get all the way, wait a minute, into this, let's get into the history of the POTUS, the President of the United States, and coronations.
No US president has ever attended a British coronation. While it sounds like a snub, it's not so political. US presidents have historically sent a special envoy to the coronation, because aside from the obvious feelings after the American Revolution, it was also impractical to travel there since transatlantic flights didn't start until 1939, 3 years after King George VI was crowned. The next coronation after that was his daughter Queen Elizabeth II, who as we know remained on the throne through 14 presidents. President Eisenhower was in office for a coronation, but he chose to keep with tradition and send a special envoy instead. And that brings us to today. President Biden is sticking with tradition and sending the First Lady and a special envoy to the King's coronation. However, he did confirm he will attend a state visit with the King at a later date.
Now, see, the avoidance of a president at a royal coronation goes deeper than, it was hard to travel. No, the whole point of breaking off from Great Britain, because that's what it was at the time, was no monarchy. Even though we came over here and created the top 1%, which is essentially that. And then we got JFK and it's Camelot. And I digress. Yeah, nobody, no. Ain't nobody, no, ain't nobody doing that. No, she wasn't mad. She was giddy as hell. She was smiling through the whole thing. She chose the crown that she wanted. She could have had a brand new crown created, which would have been tradition, but she didn't. She had already, struck a chord with the public who already don't like her and don't respect her. The fact that her royal attire, her robes for today were handcrafted. She had a whole new robe. Yeah, she wanted to wear that crown. She wanted to be matchy and make a point. She's petty. We are free from the monarchy. Canada, Australia, the rest of the we're not a part of their commonwealth. They have no jurisdiction over here. Now, here's a little chuckle. Now, I didn't see in all the listings of who was on the guest list. I know Katy Perry is performing tonight, or it may have, I don't know when the concert happened, but I didn't see her name on the guest list. So that might explain why she didn't have an escort. But y'all take a look at this.
Katy Perry trying to find her seat at the coronation is me on this app trying to find a brand partnership. It's so funny to me that she performed and they didn't even have the decency to get her an escort to take her to her seat. The audacity. And the fact that Prince Charles, Queen Charles, no, that's RuPaul. King Charles looks like this and he's wearing all this blood diamonds and I'm like, at least show us some kind of emotion. Well, I guess looking bored at your own coronation is an emotion. At least Camilla looked comfortable and happy wearing all those blood diamonds. Allegedly. I will say I feel bad for Prince Harry because he was sent into the lion's den without his wife. Meghan, I'm so happy that you saw my TikTok and took my advice to not attend the coronation. In my mind. And while we're talking...
Harry wasn't bothered with them. Harry walked in there. giggled, cackled, had a good old time, cracked some jokes, gave some hugs, and went on home to go celebrate his son's birthday. Camilla was beaming. Camilla was beaming. She was like, we made it. And let us not forget that Camilla is the descendant of another member of the royal family's mistress. I guess the career of wholeness can be a family business. It's one of those what's classy when you have money and trashy when you don't. Speaking of what's trashy, the Andrew exception. Now, let us not forget that Prince Harry served in the military. And I'm not talking about some frou-frou, privileged, Nepo baby type of service. No, he served in the military and then went on to found the Invictus Games to help military vets. He wasn't allowed, once again, under the rule of his crazy daddy, who acts more like a crazed stepdaddy and an incessant child than anything else, to wear his military or his royal garb. But guess who was? You know what? Don't even guess. Take a look. 'Cause we hate what you do, and we hate your whole crew, so please don't stay inside. Fuck you very, very much. Now I understand there are people who, whether they like the monarchy or they're anti-monarchy, wanted to have a seat in the House because it is history unfolding in front of our face. In so many people's lifetimes, there has not been a coronation because Queen Colonizer just refused to die till after her husband died. I guess that's true love or true incest, whichever one. I guess love cest. I don't know. But here's what I don't understand. Like Westminster Abbey looks just like one big long hallway. For real, for real. Now, I love, UK formal royal fashion because it's giving very Boston Tea Party, very Revolutionary War, very pilgrim chic. But everybody's facing each other. Like, I do not want to be sitting there. And those thrones looked very wish.com. For all the money that y'all spent while your countrymen are starving, having to choose between food, rent, and money to heat your home, you couldn't get better thrones? But everybody's facing each other. No. And this weekend is also Kentucky Derby weekend. And have you noticed that the dress code for the high end, the highbrow festivities of Derby, if you know, you know, there's different derbies going on at the same time. If you know, you understand that statement. The dress code is the same. And that rule of no tiaras backfired. Because those ladies came through with the come through like, oh, okay. I'll still make my flowers in my head sparkly. I'll still make it look like a tiara. And I know there's a lot of speculation that the rule was changed by Charles to, in case Meghan Markle showed up, she wouldn't be able to wear a tiara. I think it's Camilla. I think Camilla wanted to be the only one adorned. And because they opened up the invite list to other monarchies, because she was giddy as hell. Chuck was sitting there like, why do I even have to go through this? My mom died. It's mine now. Just give it to me. And I'm going to say I'm slimming down this family, the firm, but it's just because I want more for myself. But let's get into some highlights.
Did you know that King Charles won't have to follow the same exact laws as everybody else in the UK after his coronation? More than 160 exemptions have been written in the law since 1967 for the late Queen Elizabeth. Now that Charles is king, those same exemptions will transfer over to him. As head of state, Charles won't have to carry a passport. Speed limits also don't apply. He can drive as fast or as slow as he'd like. You might remember that Queen Elizabeth liked to drive a bunch, but she didn't have to take her driver's test, nor did she have to have a license plate, since all the license plates in the UK were issued in her name. King Charles legally won't have to pay taxes either, though some royal family members have opted to pay taxes on any income earned outside of their royal duties. Charles will also be exempt from any criminal or civil proceedings, both publicly and personally when it comes to his own assets. Under the Criminal Justice Act, King Charles and immediate royal family members also don't have to report to jury duty. Meanwhile, if you're a British citizen, you could face a fine upwards of $1,200 US. The UK also has laws against racial and sexual discrimination in the workplace. But according to The Guardian, documents show Her Majesty didn't have to follow the same rule. Buckingham Palace was reportedly looking for a diversity chief in 2021.
Okay, now the whole jury duty thing, I completely understand, because that would be pretty intimidating. And whatever a member of the royal family, especially the head of the royal family, would come up with, everybody else would feel obligated to go along with, and it's kind of hard to give that pushback. The whole driver's license thing, how you But regarding diversity, as always, check out the links in the description of this video. Yes, I do know that there has been a great deal of breaking news going on today. And yes, we're just taking about a half an hour to talk about the coronation. I have been keeping up with what's going on. Check the links in the comments section at the very top regarding breaking news, and the links in the description. And if you follow me over on TikTok, you will get the latest news that I know regarding about the Allen, Texas mall shooting. TV is on in the background. There is yet another press conference, excuse me, going on, and I will have that posted as soon as we wrap here in approximately 9 minutes or less. Now, the whole taxes thing, and then some members of the royal family want to pay taxes outside of what they get paid just to be, first of all, how you getting paid just to exist? How very Kardashian of you. Or should I say the Kardashians are very Windsor. But here's one of the best summaries I saw today. Take a look.
Here's my rundown of the notes I took of thoughts and observations I had during the coronation of King Charles III. Full disclosure, I watched about halfway through because I was not waking up at 3 a.m. for this, okay? First up, we have Jennifer Coolidge's next role. Makes me want a hot dog real bad. Her name is Penny. She is giving Welcome to the Hunger Games. The cape is serving camp, and I am here for it. She was front and center for most of the coronation. She's a very good-looking woman, but she's also a Liz Truss apologist, so let's not ship her too hard. Next up, we have Prince Harry showing up looking like a full snack. I'm glad he got to wear his medals that he actually earned. Prince Andrew in the garter robes is just... ugh. Also, despite reports that he was going to be hidden in the back behind a pillar, he's right there. 3 rows back. Next up, we have Camilla, Camilla 2, and Camilla 3. I understand they are her ladies-in-waiting, and one of them is her sister, but I like to think that she forced all of them to get the same feathered hairstyle so that they would look alike. It's giving Wish version fembot, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the tiara, non-tiaras, kind of tiaras. I'm not sure if this was the eventual compromise, or if Camilla even knew they were basically going to be wearing what looked like tiaras, but I'm here for it if it potentially made her angry. I actually really like the way that Charlotte's reflects Kate's. I think that's very cute, very posh mommy and me. I'm probably going to be alone in this opinion, but I actually preferred the way Kate's headpiece looked under the lights in Westminster Abbey. I didn't love it out in natural daylight. It's just giving a little too much like spray painted foliage Christmas wreath that you buy at Michael's during the holidays. I love the nod to Diana though, with her earrings from the 90s. And may we please have a moment of silence for the snack that is Major Jonathan Thompson. Ground control to Major Tom. Muy appreciado, coronation with the eye candy. A moment you'll probably see highlighted is when Prince William read a prayer of some sort to King Charles and then gave him a kiss on the cheek. And you know King Charles was like, "Do not move this crown. The crown is heavy, darling." I just can't get over the fact that everyone was reading off of cue cards. I haven't looked into this yet, but someone suggested that that is the way these services go. There are always, things to read off of. But like, you couldn't have memorized a 2-sentence prayer. I don't know. It just kind of gave dress rehearsal vibes. The one moment that I wish I didn't miss was the Ascension Choir. I heard that they were incredible. I'm going to go back and watch a clip. Definitely feels like there were diversity checks made during this coronation, but again, how does it really move the needle and make life better for marginalized people? Those are just some quick thoughts. I will have more thoughts later, and I'm also going to start digging into the media.
Now, the clergy that were in charge, I understand why they had so many cards. There were a lot of things for them to read and repeat, and it's not like the days of old where there's like every couple of years we're getting a new king or blah 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 blah. I mean, Queen Colonizer was like, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm gonna be a skeleton before I leave. So I get it, but that moment with William and Charles, nothing says there's no emotion in that family more than that moment. Now, the crown that Charles started off with was incredibly heavy, and you could tell he wasn't like walking too fast or whatever. There was a period they went in the back, came back without the crowns, then went completely changed and had their, and he had a lighter crown on. But yeah, you couldn't memorize 2 lines, Willie boy. You couldn't. You couldn't. And yeah, Queen Concubine and her ladies in waiting, they look like a trio of Stepford wives. Like, honey, do you really want your ladies in waiting, especially your sister that comes from your same hotastic line, to look exactly like you around old elderly ass Chuck? Because he can easily say, but honey, I thought it was you, when he's trying to imitate a tampon for them. Yeah, I heard the nasty tapes. Y'all nasty. Well, you guys, like I said, I'm going to get that update from the second press conference from Allen, Texas for you. And as always, thank you for joining me here on Conversations with Taz. And this was our coronation breakdown. I hope you enjoyed the history and my commentary and the little breakdowns from today. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. I will see you all tomorrow for the Sunday sit down. But as always, I had to leave you with a little bit of a chuckle. Bye, y'all.
This is the day that the Lord hath made for mistresses, side pieces, and jump-offs. Nene Leakes may have once told us to close your legs to married men, but Camilla was like, nah, I'ma be queen. The patron saint of side hoes is now queen. She's like an Instagram model's dream come true. All she had to do was have an affair with a married man, wait for his young and popular wife to die, then release bad stories about his children to make herself look good, and just wait it out. Remember, her great-great-grandmother was also a royal side piece. She is the manifestation of all of their ambition and all of their dreams. Congratulations.
There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
I said certified freak, 7 days a week. Wet ass pussy, make that pull out game weak. Yeah, yeah.